Hello, yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here at Film Bazaar 2019. The topic we've been given is script to screen, empowering youth through skill development. And the particular significance of this topic is that the film industry still continues to grow in double-digit figures, which is better than the average growth of the Indian economy, and it contributes to about 2.8% of the GDP. Indirect and direct employment combined, about 40 lakh people at least are working in the industry. These are all estimates, of course. And roughly 4,35,000 crores is the total economic impact of the entertainment and media industry. So obviously it's a very, very large contributor to the economy as well as a contributor to employment. Of course, the employment is not structured, institutionalized kind of employment that you get in the corporate sector perhaps, but there is employment, significant employment. Much of it is self-employment, project-based employment, but it's there. And therefore, we have a need of something like, the recent estimates are about 1.4 to 1.6 lakh people joining this industry every single year over the next 5 years. These are figures from a CII report recently. So how do we fill this tremendous gap? Now, there are many initiatives taking place, particularly concentrating on the media and entertainment sector. At the higher level, of course, we have, in terms of the higher level jobs, we have institutions such as the revered FTII, the Film and Television Institute of India, the SRFTII, Whistling Woods, and the Chennai Institute, and so on. There are many film institutes training people to be directors, actors, scriptwriters, editors, cinematographers, sound recordists, and so on. But there are so many other jobs which are required. How do we skill people to enter the media entertainment sector? In this, NFDC has recently taken a further step. In 2011, they started in a small way training people in still photography, editing, and so on and so forth in Chennai. 2017, it was taken up as a structured decision to expand this to various parts of the country in collaboration with the various state governments, their state skill development missions and skill development corporations. And now I'm told that the NFDC has successfully signed MOUs with at least 2 state governments, that is Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. The Andhra Pradesh center is going to be a center of excellence, which is almost ready to start up. And over the years, about 16,000 people have been trained in various allied disciplines by NFDC. So how can this be expanded? How can awareness about this be spread? And how can this movement be spread across the country? That is what we need to look at, and look at it from the view of the government, which is the facilitator and enabler for all this as far as NFDC is concerned, and other efforts are concerned. And also with a view to the industry. What does the industry require? What does it feel? Is it sufficient? What are the steps? How do we expand? So on this particular topic, I'd first like to take the government view from Mr. Tiwari. Could you tell us, Mr. Tiwari, what is the government doing to support initiatives for skill development for the media and entertainment sector in particular, with the NFDC now trying to step up and heighten skill development? And one of the signifiers of which is that in this particular Film Bazaar, skill development has been a main theme.
Whenever we talk about India, we talk about demographic dividend. And the moment we talk about demographic dividend, we talk about skilling. And I'm happy that you are taking the whole media and industry as such, rather than limiting it to, say, film industry or like that. From government, we also like to see the whole thing in a big media entertainment canopy kind of a business. NFDC is just one part of the scaling process. We also have sector-specific skill council. They also have their trainings, like Mr. Subhas Ghai also has his own training institute in London, in Bombay and Pune. And there are many other, we also have this, our training institute like FTII, SRFTII, IMC. There's also, in a way, training and equipping people to enter into the media entertainment industry. And I would assume that looking at the present requirement of the skilling in the M&E industry, Government should work more closely with the employers, like Mr. Kapoor is here, and producers guilds are there, all the other parts of the professional agencies for which we can take their requirements, and whatever skilling which we are going to give should also be attuned to their needs, which keep on changing with the technology. So the government as a whole will like to see this, that how do we align NFDC, they increase their share of skilling, they take it to different state governments, they enter into some collaborations with, like, we have the state focus, we have some, in this, we have state focus, like Uttaranchal is this time, so we talk to them. And we have to see as a whole, holistic method that wherever there are possibilities of government doing a little, the candidates doing this much, state governments doing this much, and keeping the skilling part also relevant as per the NFSQ, which is under the skilling industry. And Mrs. Kalyani, who is the MD NFDC, at present she has taken a lot of interest in that. And because of that, we are getting collaboration with other state governments. We hope to have more collaboration with state governments. And perhaps we should do more in, say, Hyderabad, we should do more in Calcutta, other than Chennai and Mumbai. And that is the only way to move forward.
Thank you very much. I believe that the NFDC is also trying at the moment in talks with J&K and with Arunachal, amongst other states, to enter into agreements to set up these skilling centers. I'd like to turn to Siddharth now. Siddharth, as a person who's the president of the Film Producers Guild, you have an overview of the film industry, which is a major part of the media and entertainment sector. What do you find are the levels of people entering at entry-level jobs in various fields in the process of film production and, you know, the above line, below line, all that? What are the kind of skills that you're getting right now? What are the gaps that you find, and what would you like the government and NFDC to do to address these gaps?
To start with, Sunit, I'd like to commend the government for this initiative, because I think it's the first time that we've really seen this amount of active involvement in terms of understanding the issues of the industry as far as the manpower requirements are concerned, and what exactly can be done to address those. So, to start with, I'd just like to say that this is a wonderful initiative. What I think would be wonderful to take this forward would be a public-private partnership, in a sense that engaging as much with each other as possible, so that the government can understand the needs of the industry, very clearly. Like you said, in your opening remarks, it is an incredible, apart from being a good source of revenue, and obviously a massive soft power that helps take the nation forward, it also provides employment to, thousands of people. And as you said, there's a huge requirement for new entrants to the film industry, and actually for the media in general, who are skilled in some shape or form. And very often, I have to admit that we've been guilty of throwing people in at the deep end and just hoping that they can swim, right? Because you don't really have that many training modules for people within the industry. Invariably, they find their way in, trial and error. There are some diamonds in the rough who just make it right to the top, and that happens more by default than by design. I think if we can put some design to it, then it would be helpful. There are so many disciplines in which you need some level of skill that would be great if people at the entry level had right at the outset. So from camera to production design to art direction to writing to cinematography, so many disciplines, and this runs across film, television, radio, so on and so forth. And I think today at the entry level, people just come in and learn on the job. So there are many different areas. I do think that animation might be the one area where there's been some level of skill enhancement, because you need a very specific skill to be able to do that job. But otherwise, most people think, seek lenge na, we'll join and we'll figure it out. And making that entry in the first place is so difficult that to imagine a few years of working towards it and then hoping that it happens, you feel you'd rather spend the time just trying to make it happen, and then you learn it on the job. So again, great initiative, and I hope we can engage much more going forward.
Just one follow-up question. Have you had a look at the National Skills Qualification Framework and the job roles and the packs identified therein? And do you think that they are sort of, would you like to sort of personally comment on whether you validate them and they're really what the industry needs, or do they need to be constantly updated?
I think they need to be constantly updated. We've had a look at it, but I have to admit that we've not engaged with it in a very active manner yet. I think if we can form some sort of a subcommittee between the film industry and the government that can look into the issue and then come back with a report, that would be quite useful. And I do think it's something that needs to be updated constantly.
Prasoon, may I turn to you now, because you are a creative person, both in the advertising industry, which is also a big part of the media and entertainment industry, and you are yourself a script writer, dialogue writer, engaged seriously with the film industry, apart from your role as chairman of the CBFC. What do you find as far as the creative inputs are concerned? Can creative inputs be, creativity be trained? Because I heard you talking in the morning on the future of creativity and artificial intelligence and engaging with it. But do you think creativity itself can be trained? Because there's a huge demand now out there with the OTT platforms and various other media. There's fragmentation, as you mentioned in your talk with the students in the morning. How do we fill these gaps, and can the creative element also perhaps be incorporated in training or not? What are your views?
I think, see, we sometimes treat creativity too special. We think there is a word called in Hindi called tukka. So tukka means, for people who don't understand Hindi, is fluke. Now, if you're talking about skill here, we have to go deeper into the psyche of our country, where an engineer or a doctor having a dream, so we'll have to go and actually plant ourselves into dreams. So you have skill development has to have the dream element. You have to tiptoe into the dreams of this country. The middle class India, which doesn't think it's a viable dream. It's a fluke. It's a chance. It's divine intervention. It's connection. I hear it all the time when I meet the students, that because they associate films with film stars, they feel that going into films means not filming. They want to become film stars. So as he was talking, Siddharth, about by design. I think from fluke, we have to move by design. So it becomes a solid career option. Today it's a flimsy career option. If a child in a middle class India's gathering says, I want to make films, probably he's not taken as seriously as someone who said, I want to become a doctor, or I want to become an IAS officer like him here. That's taken more seriously. And this guy is somehow hiding his dream and also not very sure of it. I think unless we change the attitude that this is something which requires skill, which requires structure, there is a design out there. People are successful in this industry not because they had contacts, not because there is a nepotism, not because there is chance or fluke or divine intervention, but it is a serious career option, and that's where skills come. I was talking in the morning, and I was quoting that about the falcon, and I was telling the students that the falcon, Shaheen, goes down, dives for the prey, catches the prey, goes up, soars high, and drops the prey alive back. Why does he do it? The bird was not hungry. Bird did it to practice the art of hunting. So when the bird is actually hungry, it doesn't commit the mistake. We have to tell what learning is, what practicing is. And yes, there will be opportunity. Yes, you will have to pitch your ideas to people. Yes, but that's also can happen by design. You can learn how to pitch your ideas. You have to teach people that this is not that somebody took pity on you or somebody really liked your face and gave you a film. It doesn't happen like that. So I think that psyche needs to change somewhere. And unless that change happens, you will not see people seriously pursuing it. So it requires both ways, changing the psyche of people and developing courses which are serious about filmmaking, and also changing the filmmaking attitude towards filmmaking, that you need a sound designer. That's also a serious profession. Makeup could be a serious profession. Right? I see that change. If that happens, we would see, and we are living in AI. Now, you talked about AI. I think reskilling is also a very important part, other than skilling. Now, constantly you have to update a skill. A lot of people go outdated. I saw in advertising. Now, the moment we had this digital world coming in, there was a huge scare in the world of advertising. The people who was earlier copywriters and art directors and visualizers, they certainly felt that there will be no jobs for them. And I always advocated that it's fundamentally about ideas. And these are skills can be learned. And I can tell you, in at least McCann, with the company I run, we've been successfully able to reskill people, not write them off. And for reskilling also, huge amount of labor is going to go waste if suddenly the old world sound designer sees that he has to do everything on the machines now. And now with AI coming in, we're going to see another challenge. You heard today that in Japan, they composed the first song, they dedicated the song to the Pope now. That's an AI-created melody which has come out. Now you are going to see AI creating creative work. You heard about Benjamin being the script writer, who's been first script writer, which is not a human being. Now these things are going to happen there. So we have to prepare our people for the future. And I think that what Siddharth said, constant updating is required for that.
On reskilling, Siddharth, I mean, can you tell me, do you find that there's a crying need right now, technology changing, formats changing? Is there a crying need right now for reskilling in the industry and the people that you work with?
Hugely. So just sort of taking the example of writing, right? We're used to feature film writing, we're used to lyrics writing, of course, and we're used to writing for maybe daily soaps or for weekly episodes. The way that it happened in the US, where they moved from network television, from ABC and NBC and CBS, etc., then they moved on to cable. So you had slightly edgier content. You had stuff like The Sopranos coming out on HBO in the late 90s. Writers slowly developed into being able to create content for that. Writers became showrunners over a period of time where they actually were able to develop skills in addition to their writing skills, production skills, casting skills, etc. And over a period of 20 years, you've now come to The Crown and Narcos and shows of that nature, right? As is typical in our country, we've jumped that generation completely. We've gone straight from writing for feature films and writing for, daily soaps, straight to writing for high quality 10-episode, series content. Now, some people can do it. Some people will be able to just come in and do it because that's just the power of their talent. But have we given enough attention to training the writers to be able to move into this new medium in a way that can make them confident about their skills, not just their innate abilities as a writer? That self-confidence, of course, should be there. But their ability to also know that they've been given the right tools, the right training, the right structure in the way that they need to be looking at this new format, right? Because there are rules. And then of course you can break the rules, but you should know the rules to start with before you break them. That's just one example. What we tend to do is we tend to rely on the innate genius of a creative person to break through the shackles of not having ever gone through any training and just hope, like Prasoon said, a tukka will happen and they'll shine through and you'll get a diamond in the rough and it'll be fine. But have we given enough time and attention to actually training them in this new medium? We haven't. And that's just one example. I think in every discipline, you'll have, examples of that happening. And hats off to our creative people who've managed to shine through regardless of that, But I have to admit that as an industry, we haven't really given them the tools in their training or in their initial growing up years to be able to actually get to the level that we want them to be at.
How is this training to be imparted?
Well, I think a first, wonderful initiative is what you're doing and what, the government is doing. But I think as an industry, we need to take some of that onus on ourselves as well. And we need to actually invest in skilling. The problem is that we tend to be quite insular and be going from Friday to Friday or from year to year, from slate to slate, from deal to deal. And maybe enough attention is not given as an industry to being able to create these centers of excellence for each discipline, where you draw on people from within the industry who are masters at that, and probably people from outside the country as well who could come in and actually help and support, these initiatives. Now that could be done via the centers of excellence that you've already created in a public-private partnership, or it can be done standalone. But there are ways to do it. We just have to admit that we haven't paid it enough attention yet.
Mr. Tiwari, I wanted to ask you, animation was mentioned as a particular discipline which requires a lot of training. I think the government has had for some time an idea to set up a center of excellence for animation and gaming, which gaming in fact is now larger than the film industry in terms of its contribution worldwide. So animation and gaming, the center of excellence, are we going to see it soon on the cards?
Yeah, we have a plan for the Center of Excellence, and the land has also been given by Maharashtra government in the film city, heart of the filmmaking in Mumbai. As you know, as was being mentioned by Mr. Joshi, that this all the new areas which are emerging, they leave us a little bit unprepared on the policy side. So at present, we need to get it start going. And when we do that, then we realize that we do need the private sector, the people who are going to employ such people also on board with us. And we hope to do something on this another 2-3 months. We are also going to have a policy on the animation ABCG sector, and that is also going to come up very soon. And very fact that this is an emerging area which also want to recognize, the FDI, the whole FDI setup as well. And we want to give it more push. That's why during this budget, the finance minister has also announced 100%. We need a relook at the ABCG sector, which we're trying to do it. And I assume that we have to do a lot on this front as well. But at the same time, we should not also neglect what we have. So for example, the training being given to FTII, SRFTII, IMC, they need a total overall. So for that, we have our internal committees working on that, and we need to align their trainings with the current needs as well. And I'm sure that, let me admit it, that we haven't looked the scaling as much as we should have, because as was being said, it is like a glamour, and people don't think that it is very important, hard work. But now we realize, as an audience, as a avid watcher of movies, I realize how the things have been changing in my family, in my society also. More people are going towards the film industry. And if they were to go in a regular, non-fluke ways, then certainly the kind of impact which we generate, otherwise India will be very huge. So I think the government also needs to appreciate that there is a requirement of skilling, and whatever the options are there, we have to exercise that. But more than that, what Mr. Siddharth Roy Kapoor was saying, the industry should also take up notice and work with us on, because generally the government gives a training, it becomes kind of static. But where there is a need, it's going to be very dynamic. And the attrition rate is also very high. And the entry barriers are also very high. So unless until, on the hand end, we keep on giving them training and they keep on having some entry barriers or their requirements not matching their scaling, then again, all the effort will be lost. So I'm sure there will be, this is a good introspection part, and I'm sure government and industry will work together, take it still bigger canvas and in a larger number.
I think there can be no doubt as to the contribution that has already been made to the film industry by the FTII and SRFTII. Many of the leading lights of cinema are from these two institutes, and also, the private initiatives like Whistling Woods by Subhash Ghai and so other. And also the IIMC, as you said, has produced leading journalists and so on. I wanted to ask now for some specific inputs from our industry representatives, so to speak. Because I'm just going to read out the kind of more basic skilling courses that NFDC has entered into, and ask right now on this platform your suggestions of what could be added to these skills, because you have the best perspective to advise us to advise NFDC, to advise the government as to where it could go. So right now they're doing basic video editing courses, graphic designing courses, digital photography, cinematography courses, animation, sound engineering, and visual effects. And these are very basic level courses, but, and of course one can graduate to higher level courses, but are there any other areas which at the entry level you'd like to see added to this compendium of courses that are already being offered?
You know, it'll be a little like sort of unfair for me to react to it just on the face of it, because I think one will need to study it a little bit further. Just on the face of it,
Something that strikes you at the top of your mind.
these seem like technical courses, which is very important, and we should definitely have technical courses in VFX and sound and all those skills. I'd say some of the more softer disciplines as well, like Prasoon was saying. It could be stuff like hair and makeup. It could things that you would not imagine you actually needed skills for and thought you could learn on the job. But if you can actually have, you know, disciplines for them, writing, direction, of course, those are courses that are already offered by other institutes. But I think if the government is looking at this as in an overall way and is looking to overhaul and look for overall skill development, I'd say some of the more softer courses rather than just the technical courses can also be looked at. But it's important for us to study it in detail so that we can have a proper response.
Right. So we look forward to getting more responses from you. Prasoon?
Yeah. See, I feel anything. I remember having this chat with Sachin Tendulkar once and long back, and we were talking about cricket at that time. And see, anything which, and I used the word fluke earlier, anything which provides success to a handful of people that is not taken seriously by the society. And that's the reason when Siddharth is talking about even softer dimensions of courses. Because, you know, you need to mean something to people, that this is going to provide something, some value to me. There's a future possibility for me. I think film industry should be seen as future possibility of career option for. Right at the school level, we should enter at that time. You know, kids today have started making these videos. They have already, you want it or you don't want it, they're using their phones and small cameras and things, and they've started doing that. Now, if that can be taught, there is a lot of, and even when the parents go in the parent-child meeting and all that, they see the seriousness and viable career options out there. Because we will have to see it from that point of view, changing the psyche, changing the attitude of the society towards making it a serious career option. So at the school level, you can do it. Because when you talk about location, in tourism, you're saying that you will attract more people to shoot in this country. Now, that also comes up with a lot of, you know, job opportunities. Because these people who shoot here would love to have local, because their expenses go down as local technicians. So वो आपके देश में तभी पधारेंगे जब अपना स्किल सुधारेंगे आप, वरना उनके लिए बहुत एक्सपेंसिव है सब कुछ लेके यहाँ पे आना. So that probably from location to vocation, you have to move there in terms of providing these and skills should not only mean these famous directors, famous producers, famous actors. You should see, and also we should start celebrating technicians more in this country. I think we don't celebrate technicians that much. So it becomes a menial job. So people don't aspire for them. I think that aspiration and that career option and change of psyche is very, very important for me.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask Mr. Tiwari a question on the National Skills Qualification Framework. One of the requirements that comes up is that of employment. Now, I'm told that NFDC is managing about a 70% employment rate after the courses are completed. But the nature of the employment in the film industry, the entertainment industry, the media industry, as I mentioned briefly in the beginning, is very different from that of any corporate sector or an organized industry. It is generally either self-employment or job work or project-related work. Now, does the National Skills Qualification Framework have enough flexibility to recognize self-employment or assignment-based employment as a kind of a criterion for being employed at the end of a course?
Perhaps I am not qualified to talk about the film industry because I don't know much about that, but I assume that it is getting formalized in a way like our whole economy is getting formalized. In that sense, the NFSQ says that they have to be employed for a certain period of time, and that is being monitored for say 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. And if that data shows that they have been employed, around 70% they have been employed, I would consider it's quite a reasonable achievement. And it's not necessary that they should be employed in say, a firm like that. I don't know how many firms are there in the film industry. Like, there are firms, there are big production houses, but whether they give a regular employment with the PF, जिसका कट रहा हो, जिसको ESG भी जा रही हो, ऐसा है मुझे नहीं पता. So maybe I'm not able to comment, but I assume there will be some formalized structures within the film industry as well, M&E industry as well. And the kind of the training which we are giving, it is kind of startup, you know. We just, some people also do some startup kind of thing. It's not necessarily all of them land up in, so take some train and land in Mumbai, VT. They may do it somewhere in their own areas as well. So today we are saying in Panorama, Joshiji, that the kind of efflorescence of creativity which is there in, say, in Kashmir or Assam or other regional areas is also huge. So like this kind of training also becomes a kind of a creative input to the people who are working in those areas as well.
नहीं है तिवारी. इसके साथ साथ see, if you are talking about diversity, true diversity, then this soft power cannot be held by very few. It's very important that tomorrow, if you want to see a real representation of a farmer's life, you have a farmer's son dreaming to become filmmaker. Because he's seen the life and he will come with a very authentic portrayal of that. So when we are talking about true diversity in the country, you need diversity in terms of recruitment, where people are coming from with a diverse backgrounds. Then the diverse subjects will come out. And authentically, I'm not saying that our film industry is not making films on diverse subjects, but still the diverse backgrounds, we still have willy-nilly very few background people from very few kind of cities and places we come and make films. Because कहीं ना कहीं फिल्म बनाना हिम्मत वालों का खेल भी हो गया है. स्किल वालों की जगह हिम्मत वालों का खेल हो गया. So as it's so challenging, you feel that you have to, I won't be able to cross the reception of this place. So are we celebrating art of making films or art of crossing receptions? We have to be careful there.
I think the core of it is that even today, even a kid being able to tell his parents or his peer group that he has this ambition, he's embarrassed of it because he feels like they'll think he's dreaming an impossible dream and he's being ridiculous. And that could be in any, I mean, one is of course to be an actor because everyone knows that there's a lot of chance, but even to be a director, to be a producer, to be a sound designer, to be an editor, these are also areas where people still feel very reticent about even expressing that they want to be doing it, because we have been born and brought up to believe that there's got to be a structured way to get to a place in your career. And right now it's a smoke and mirrors situation when it comes to any of these disciplines, because it seems like a hazy path and then some people are up there doing it. We don't know how they got there, but they're there. So any parent or any elder will always have the upper hand in being able to say, but how are you going to get there? And they have no answers to that. That's the problem.
That is a problem, and hopefully once there are structured programs, at least for training, that would lend a little confidence to
Yes,
those parents
it will.
who are hesitant to let people. Finally, I just want to ask Mr. Tiwari regarding scale, because the problem here, as we were talking before we came for this conversation also, is scale, because the numbers that are required and the numbers that you are actually able to train at the moment, there's no match between them. And what are the possibilities of scaling it up, maybe engaging with state governments, engaging with local administrations in various areas to ensure that they also bring in their share of investment in skilling along with an organization like an FDC or other organizations as well?
As you rightly pointed out, the scale is huge. In India, anything which you measure, the scale is huge. And M&E industry is no exception. And I think we need to scale up the training which is being given by NFDC. For that, government is responsible because we need to support NFDC in that sense. We also need to, as you rightly said, get in more in action with the state governments. Many state governments have their own skilling. Now,
Absolutely.
many state governments also have their skilling departments. Earlier, they never used to be there. 5 years back, it was not there. So there is an emphasis in skilling, and that we bring it the NFSQ skilling ministry as well. And of course, Mr. Siddharth Roy Kapoor has promised that he will collaborate with us in designing on the courses. We'd welcome you, sir, and from all the important institutions in the M&E industry. We'd like to work with you, and you tell us what kind of training we need to organize, and we'll do whatever little which we have, whatever our institutions, frameworks are there, we'd like to use that to give you those kind of talent and skilled people.
That sounds great.
One area to be focused on also in skill development is women. I feel the workforce, women workforce and development there, because of the social sort of structure we have, I think there are barriers there more. And I think as Mr. Tiwari was talking about having the right system to protect also their HR rules and a lot of things we need to work on so that women's safety also needs to be looked at. And I think encouraging women sort of skill force to join films is also something where a lot of work is required. And for that, of course, a lot of things are linked with then their safety, then there is HR required there. So all these things needs to be probably a broader discussion about. But a sense of it is that our attitude towards making it more solid career option, more skill-oriented career option should be a focus.
Thank you very much, Prasoon. In fact, you brought in at the end a very important aspect of the whole situation. And I must say that I was briefed very enthusiastically by the person who's in charge of skilling, one of the persons in charge of skilling in the NFDC, saying that we are also concentrating on people with a socially backward background, differently abled, the intellectually challenged, autism spectrum people, speech impediment people, tribal communities, Adi Dravids, and who are being taught photography and multimedia, and transgenders. They're being taught TV anchoring and radio jockeying. So women, of course, must form a very important part of this entire spectrum of people that you concentrate on. So they have apparently the right attitude. It's just the scaling that is important. I think we have about 5 minutes or so left. If there are any questions from the audience, we'd be happy to take them. Yes, Kabir?
Hi, thanks for the lovely discussion. Nice to hear about the programs that are there in place, the work that FTTI and NFDC, etc. is doing. But in terms of diversity and what Prasoon was talking about, I'm, for instance, involved with a group of young filmmakers from Bombay that go out and train underprivileged children and teach them skills for 2 weeks and then give them the opportunities to make 3-4 minute films. And they have made some remarkable films. And not just in Bombay, they've gone to Jharkhand, they've gone to Rajasthan, they've gone to Andhra Pradesh. And the films they've turned out are quite, a lot of them are very good. Some of them are extraordinary. My point here is that when NGOs and young people like this are willing to go out and give skills at the bottom of the pyramid as well, is it not possible for the government to include such endeavors in the CSR initiatives and the CSR budgets that corporates are mandated to provide, so that they also become eligible for support, not always having to rely on the government, but also being able to get this from private industry, as well as look at support from government and any ideas that you might have on that in helping such people and such NGOs by young people, skilling the underprivileged, what can be done for them.
Right.
The NGO is called Filmbug, and there's a couple called Kapil Mattu and Namita Prem Kumar that's run it, and I salute them.
Are you, just to clarify the question, are you saying that the CSR budget, when you have a certain budget for that, can they show it against that?
That's right.
Yeah.
Can they contribute to that as
That
part
such
of the
activities should
CSR?
also
That's
be
one
made
question.
eligible for
Second
CSR
question is, what can the government do to empower such people?
Yes? I think the MD NFDC, TCA Kalyani will answer that.
So, very enlightening discussion. But insofar as your question is concerned, sir, there's no ban on what kind of activities the CSR funding can do. Okay, so the 2% of the profits, there's no ban. It's art, but let me also clarify that I'm also taking it up with the ministry, that this should be formally included into this thing, because most of the companies who have, say, a few lakhs to spare for, CSR funding, they say that they'll give it to, okay, we'll just give it to Swachh Bharat. Okay. So I'm taking it up. I have already, Sonal, we have already taken it up with the, I'm writing to the ministry, but as part of the budget announcements or
That
something
the
like
arts
that,
should be covered.
that the arts should be
Thank you
covered.
very much for
But
that.
as on date, my understanding is there is no ban. Do you have anything to clarify?
Thank you very much, Ms. Kalyani. One last question. I think we are running out of time, I believe.
Okay, just supplementing the same question.
Yes.
Documentary filmmaking is not recognized and approved as a eligible expenditure under CSR. So I'm just expanding the whole background is, if the documentary funding filmmaking can be an approved activity under CSR, for whatever cause a corporation is espousing, that will make things simpler for films
Thank
like
you.
this.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your suggestion. I'm sure
We are, sir, taking
people
it up
concerned
with
have
the
heard
government.
it. Yes.
We are taking it up with the government. I mean, we are trying to integrate even documentary films within our set of
Right.
courses.
One last question? All right, one last question. Last, I'm afraid. I think our time is, the next panel will be coming on shortly.
Hi, I'm Prakhar Verma. I'm a student of filmmaking. So when you spoke about how it happens more by default than design, that people enter the industry and few rise, now with the presence of film schools across the country, how do you, sir, in particular, Mr. Roy Kapoor, how do you treat them? I mean, how does your company go about the whole initiation process? Because when interns, say, enter an qualitative ad market agency, then they have to go through the whole process of learning how to go through DIs and RQs and going through data mining. So how do you go, but how does your company go through that? Like, how do you bridge the gap?
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, just speaking for our own organization, I guess what I can say is that we're always looking out for young talent from the various institutes across the country. Unfortunately, there's a constraint in terms of the number of people that we can take on at any point of time, obviously. When it comes to taking them onto individual projects, then there's a little bit more latitude because then they go on to the project. But when it comes to taking them on completely in terms of the organization, there's a limited number of interns or first-time sort of entrants that we can take on. But when it comes to submissions of screenplays and scripts, that's something we have a very structured process for. We want to ensure that really nothing falls through the cracks in terms of us being able to have a funnel that's as large as possible to be able to bring as much material as there is out there for us to consider. So we do try to engage as much as possible with the various institutes.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for a wonderful session. I must thank all the participants, Mr. Tiwari, Mr. Roy Kapoor, and Mr. Joshi. And thank you, audience, for being very patient and responsive, and for your questions. Thank you very much. And we just hope that this new initiative by NFDC gathers strength and scale over time and very fast. Thank you very much.